There's a club out there for Crazy Nina's ex-flatmates. There must be dozens of us now. We get together occasionally, rent a hotel for speeches, dinner and drinks. Sometimes we go to the opera together. We're all bonded by having lived with her. Other people just don't understand. Nina looked normal. She was a beautiful girl. Raven-haired with striking green eyes. She knew how to present. She seemed like a competent human being. But at her core, a heart of darkness. You didn't get to know this until you'd lived with her for a while. She had a very good act. Fooled us for weeks. As I said, it's difficult to recall the details now. Only the texture and echoes remain. Sometimes you can tell straight off that a lunatic is bearing down upon you. During the interview, when black leathery wings burst from their back and their head does the 360, hosing the room down with thick green pea soup, it's a pretty easy thing to grab the buyer and scratch their name from the list. Most often, however, it takes about a week. You'll wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning to the sound of your new flatmate, the quiet librarian, ranting and screaming at her boyfriend as she stoves in the windscreen of his Volvo with a club lock in an attempt to stop him from driving away. Or maybe you'll be rooting around in the freezer, trying to figure out how to get to the vodka, or that last fish finger, or the legendary lost tab of acid, and you'll notice that the ice cube tray has been filled full of tomato paste. Or you'll catch the new girl sandpapering her books for that fresh, just-brought-home look. Or you'll come home late one night and trip over a new hat stand. I've noticed that neurotic women all own hat stands. And hats. Lots of them. Worst case scenario was this mad hatter called Lucy. No connection to Lucinda the Loon. She used the hat stand to keep her partner in place. He was 3 times her size, but she bent him to her will by picking the hat stand up and bashing him with it, hats and all. You'd come home to an incredibly clean house and known there'd been a domestic, because the hats all had dents in them. She was nice before she moved in, but she turned. If she didn't get what she wanted, she'd storm around the house slamming doors, waiting for her poor boyfriend to get home. Then she'd scream like a banshee and bash him with the hat stand the second he walked in through the door. But on the big scale of things, Lucy the Mad Hatter was a rank amateur. Had her tagged as a nutter within 2 days. With Crazy Nina it took time. It was a constant chafing which rubbed on your nerves, rubbed them raw in the end, the little oddities and quirks gathering into a tsunami of obsessions and strangeness. She was a list fascist. It was her first law of share house dynamics. For every action there had to be a long list of activity drawn up by Nina. The upshot of it all was generally that everybody got jobs to do and bills to pay, except Nina, who was hard at work drafting the next list. She also experimented on kittens, raised them inside a locked, airtight, explosively hot house on a diet of soy extract and vegetable gruel. She never cleaned up after them. They crawled inside the pile of clothes I slept under and relieved themselves at least 2 times a day. I thought about killing them. I've done it before. I lived with this girl, Laura. She had a pet guinea pig, called it Chester. It was a surrogate love interest. She let it sleep in a rolled-up jumper on the pillow next to her. Talked to it all of the time. While she was watching television, reading a book, playing the stereo. She even had guinea pig music on CD for Christ's sake. Debussy, I think. Anyway, Laura had a real date one night. Some desperado from the office. Probably the new guy. She was clued in enough to realize the pig was a no-show for the date, and tied herself in knots over to whether to go or pike out. She drove me crazy, asking what she should do. I said I'd look after it if she said just get out of the house, and she reluctantly agreed. Left me 2 typed pages of instructions. Soon as she was gone, I locked Chester in the bathroom and luxuriated in my first night alone in the house. I slept in front of the TV, woke up about 10 o'clock. Figured I'd better let the pig out or it might go a bit shack-wacky. She'd notice, believe me, so I opened up the door, expecting it to bolt out between my legs, but there's no activity inside the bathroom. I called out its name. Chester! Nothing. My stomach began a slow forward roll. There weren't too many places for it to hide. Only one, really. My heart was really starting to hammer as I walked over and peered in. The toilet bowl. Yep, there he was, poor little sucker. Probably kept his head above water for a couple of hours. I threw all my shit in an overnight bag and ran for it. Sorry about that, Laura.